sharing the data, using cleaning, as you were saying, and using the data to then transform it into an offer to the consumers, and the actionability of the learning that you have is that you really unlock the opportunity of business development.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the eCommert podcast. Today, we are in Zurich downtown, Mondelez Europe headquarters, and we have Lucia Ronchi with us. Lucia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today.
It's a privilege and pleasure of mine to be here with you because Lucia is leading the digital commerce for Mondelez in Europe. And in my time back in the day with Mondelez, we worked closely. I admire her work, and the team was pleasure people to work with. I'm finally glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. It's a pleasure.
So today we're going to be talking about, of course, digital commerce and all the supporting topics around it. Retail media, digital shelf, some retail media collaborations, also retail partnerships and JVP. But before we get into these nitty-gritty part, let's start with the fun and excitement. How about your career journey? Walk us through your vital times.
My long story.
Let's hear it.
It's a long story with Mondelez, but I actually started with a company under a different name, and at that time was Kraft Food.
Of course.
I spent my career basically predominantly in commercial positions, so started in marketing, going through brand management and tier marketing management, predominantly in the Italian market with different brands. I dealt with grocery brand, cheese brand, coffee brands. And then I moved into, a wide scenario for the fast-moving consumer goods. Then I moved into coaching sales with category planning and trade marketing, and broader the scope to Southern Europe. So Italy, Spain, Greece, and South Central Europe. So Romania, Bulgaria, and East Adriatic market. And then finally, and most recently in sales, first as a sales director for Mondelez Italy, and 6 years ago I landed here in Zurich to lead the development of e-commerce at that time, digital commerce now for Europe.
I like it when people in digital commerce roles come from sales background because numbers game, retailer relationship game, there's a lot of advantages compared to the people with marketing and brand background. They have different advantages, of course, but I'm also coming from sales, so I can easily resonate with you. So I love one aspect of your career journey. You're very hands-on. So you know what's going on the ground. You're willing to understand the technological drivers and spread it with the team. So let's get into granular level right away. There is a couple of big initiatives happening at Mondelez, and as a result of the digital commerce acceleration, which is the personalization, contextualization of the e-commerce information. Can you walk us through about those projects today? How it's impacting your business strategy and how your team is involved in these projects?
Well, it's basically the core of the development of the digital commerce business. That is the evolution. I started working in this area in the pre-pandemic, where the business was already growing at double digits because digitalization was already an ongoing trend. What made the difference for sure was the awful but transformational experience of pandemic, where the acceleration was bringing more and more people, accelerating the penetration, but also the build of the knowledge of the people around digital commerce. And now, the latest stage of development, surely not the last one, but the most recent, is the evolution of the connection to the consumers with a target to customization and personalization of the offers to go. And this is where the focus of Mondelez is. It is, of course, the general strategy of the company is to be consumer-centric, and therefore also digital commerce is moving in that direction. So we are working in close collaboration with consumer experience team, marketing team, media in general, because the source of the information will come, at least from Mondelez side, by the understanding of consumers, consumer behavior, consumer trend, consumer preferences. And collecting the first party data will be the source of information based on which we will then transform our offer to consumer, adapt the offer to consumer in a more customized and personalized way. And the main project that you might be aware of is Empathy Scale, that is something that you know. And it's a global project, but of course is involving the European market as well, where the customization is as important as you can find in North America or in the US in specific. So
I give example of couple of success stories of empathy skills in some gatherings. Like I give the example, when a successful campaign from Johannesburg, South Africa could be easily replicated in the Asian or American market. So I'm glad it's still making its way in the organization and in the market.
it's definitely driving the
Right.
results.
But you mentioned a couple of keywords, of course, contextualization of the digital content and meeting consumer in their context with personalized offerings is amazing. But there's another player in this game, which is a retailer. And retailers also investing a lot to make their content, make their shopping experiences contextualized and personalized for the consumer. I know from the massive and magnificent brand portfolio of Mondelez, you have really good relationships with retailers, but with the new dynamics in the game, like retail media investments, first party data. Can you walk us through and give a little bit of snapshot of Europe, the retail media, retailer collaborations?
Yeah, I think the premise is for those who comes from a global perspective or North America perspective, the reality of Europe is that much more fragmented and complicated with very different stage of maturity for the different markets. And this implies also different level of development for customer as well. However, I totally agree with you. When we think of consumer-centric strategy, you cannot not take into consideration the shopper dynamic as well, which is in the hands of the retailer. So if you don't mind a short step back, the Mondelez portfolio is based on snacking, as you know very well, mindful snacking, healthy snacking, and daily snacking meals. So the approach to consumption is on a daily basis, and also the approach to shopping is for the main cart, the weekly shopping basket. So the connection that we have with retailer is relevant. The investment that we have in omnichannel or pure play business B2C, it's predominant versus what we have, for example, D2C. It's definitely a learning area for us and a development area for very specific pilot, but the main part of our business remain B2C. So the connection to retailers is by definition a must. They are the other side of the moon. And the best combination of consumer knowledge is together with the shopper knowledge. So as Mondelez owns data related to what we were mentioning, consumer behavior and consumer trend and preferences, brand preferences, and the power of Mondelez is the power of the connection and bonding to the consumer, we need necessarily to give the right answer to the shopper to combine this kind of knowledge to the other parts of the moon, that is shopper knowledge. Right. And this is where the first party data that customers like Carrefour, Tesco, Asda, that they have at their disposal are becoming a source of information that is extremely appetizing. And this is why we are trying to enhance more and more the collaboration also in the digital space in order to make the most of the combination of this first party data from a consumer perspective and from a shopper perspective.
You mentioned some key players in the European market, Tesco, Carrefour, Asda, and we can name some more in different countries, of course. But from an overall perspective, when you look at the all 25, 27 countries in the EU, do you feel like you are getting enough number of retailers providing this data with the first party?
For Europe, there are two considerations to be done. One is we cannot say that we don't have availability of consumer data, but the first assessment is where you have the availability of shopper data, you must be very sure about how clean these data are. And now more than ever, the approach of AI requires to have clean data to read, especially now that we are fitting the AI. However, it's not a secret that, as we were mentioning, the level of maturity for Europe is very different. So we have market where we have the opportunity to develop together the management of first-party data, and other areas where we have a lack of visibility of data or sometimes a lack of willingness to share. And this is where I think we as an industry or in the collaboration with retailer, we should build more the clarity and the knowledge about the opportunity that this data sharing would the opportunity that it would open.
And I also sense, both from your answers and from what we see in the industry with multiple players, I think this first party conversation is bringing two parties together faster compared to the other conversation areas. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think it's very visible that the availability of data is only the first step. Sharing the data is a must as well.
Right.
As long as you have and hold your data for yourself, you have really a very small part of the opportunity with you. Sharing the data, using cleaning, as you were saying, and using the data to then transform it into an offer to the consumers and the actionability of the learning that you have is that where you really unlock the opportunity of business development.
It takes two to tango, basically.
It takes two to tango.
And this collaboration over consumer and first party data will open up more investment opportunities for the retail media, where retailers are building in proliferation.
Well, digital media is a big buzz. E-retail media is also a big buzz. But also in this case, I think you need to be realistic on what is actually doable, available, and profitable. So what we see is, what we saw and understood is, comparing to North America, we were saying, we had a big wave of development of digital retail media. But now in the most recent moments, let's say months, the curve is staggering, is slightly decreasing, let's say, or being stable. Europe, I think, is on a different curve, with a later curve. We are still in the phase of having a better understanding of which is the opportunity of retail media. So we still have opportunity to improve versus we are now.
Right.
But we also need to be conscious that it's not always gold what shines. So we need to be very careful about having the right understanding of which is the returns on the investments that we have in front of us, that retailers are proposing, or the real application to the consumer engagement.
I love the phrase you used a minute ago: doable, available, and profitable. I will definitely add it to my own library next to learn, earn, return.
Yes.
And now I will use doable, available, and profitable. Thank you very much. Now, you paint a really clear picture about what's going on with the first party data and retailer collaborations with brands, and also the digital media investment number of platforms. It brings another topic dear to me, and you talked about this in the beginning, which is the digital content. But I want to go to the end of this loop: digital content measurement or digital shelf measurement.
Yeah.
Do you see number of retailers increasing in terms of available data, in terms of transparent reporting, and are brands able to close a loop when it comes to performance and measurement of their digital content and digital media?
Thank you for the question. This is the super hot topic for us. We are promoting the development of the presence in the different markets, starting first of all from the quality of visibility of our brands on the digital shelf. And it all starts with the creation of the digital content, which was for us a top priority, super focused. And we invest in a significant amount of time and money in order to automate the production of digital content, and most of all, have the development running in parallel with the development on any other marketing content, so that digitalization is not just a part of the total business, but is a totally embedded part of it. Having said that, having the right content is again the preliminary step into something that then needs to be socialized and made public and syndicated. And this is the second step of the project that we are having, about having the right syndication. What we see is that retailers are, of course, becoming more and more aware of the importance of the quality of visibility on their digital shelf and importance of content. However, we see more external suppliers helping us in tracking the performance that we have on the digital shelf,
Right.
rather than having a direct and immediate connection and collaboration with retailers. Few of them are there, few of them are already, and it's not the case that they are the winning ones, are already collaborating with the direct syndication, customization of the content based on the different strategic roles that the brands plays in the portfolio. But I think I would not say that we are at the very beginning of the journey, but we are still in an early stage, and I see plenty of opportunity for further development and improvement.
There is. And all these digital capabilities and growing areas of collaboration and investment, of course, bring some consequences, and consumers carrying something else sometimes. Like consumers are more prone to learn about how brands are approaching the environment, how brands are approaching to sustainability, or other topics they keep dear to themselves. Sustainability is a big area for Mondelez that brands are investing for years. And I know there's a couple of projects you mentioned earlier in our morning chat. Can you walk us through how all these investments translating into sustainability efforts? Are there any big projects going on or any examples you can share?
Some of the pilots, yes. And first of all, let me say that this is what I find really exciting of digital commerce. Technology is now open to the possibility of having an endless space where you can load all the relevant information. What is making the difference is what is relevant to you versus what is relevant to me or another supplier. So the opportunity that we had is really to make the set of information available for the very different profile of consumers that we have. So approaching the sustainability, tech is a hot topic for a moment now. And together with the traditional set of information that we are uploading in the digital content, going from ingredient, nutritional values, source of information of our supply chain, now the relevance of sustainability is asking for more space and more evidence. And so Mondelez is working in the sustainability area with big projects like Harmony or Cocoa Life, but also in our area of application of digital technologies in e-commerce. We are also experiencing the use of the QR code and to code in order to make all this information available on your mobile phone. So by scanning the QR code, you can really have access to any source of information that you're looking for. And second, the possibility of vehiculing the information through the QR code is avoiding the printing on the card or the primary packaging. This is allowing us to not only vehicle the information in the right language, with the right depth of information, but also update them in real time, avoiding the waste of packaging, primary and secondary packaging, because all the upload of information goes in the background and then the availability of information can be really updated in real time. So it's really a win-win situation where you have a higher level of service for the consumer, a higher level of service for the company, but also supporting the environment and avoiding carbon footprints.
This reminds me something interesting. I remember there was a project at Mondelez about the blockchain traceability of the cocoa farms, and the consumer was able to trace the source of their cocoa beans in their chocolate all the way to the African farmland. Is this QR code also providing this level of information?
We have a list of SKUs now in the market that we have developed, adopt for digital commerce, where the use of the QR code is actually allowing you, or in the case of chocolate offer with Calgary and Milka, and through the use of the QR code, you can go back to the information coming from the Live project.
Amazing. Okay. More power to the sustainable cocoa farming. Now, this brings another question, because you mentioned packaging and you mentioned reducing the waste and also reducing the carbon footprint of the supply chain and the making journey shorter to the consumer, which also requires another effort in terms of commercialization, different products for the e-commerce business. And for anyone who's familiar with e-commerce, of course, price spec, architecture, product assortment, product catalog is one of the first steps on the journey before it making available, before making any digital media behind it. And I know Mondelez is very aggressive and smart about e-commerce driven product development. Can you explain a little bit of those projects, please?
The very good thing is we are part of the central sales team, so the collaboration with the RGM team is really on a daily basis. Okay. So the journey starts with the architecture of portfolio architecture, so the IPPA stream in RGM. Part of it is actually dedicated to ePPA, so the development of the best software for digital consumers and digital retailers. So it's always insight-based as the IPPA project in general, adding the value for digital commerce in specific. I know that you have a good understanding of the development that went through in US, where the development of what we call the EPACs, so adult SKUs for digital commerce, was really booming in the past year, especially through the pandemic. In Europe, we took a slightly different approach, also because of the different weight of pure players that we have in Europe, especially for Mondelez. Is a good share of business, but still not comparable to the total omnichannel. So the choice that we made was to develop adult SKU replying to specific need for additional consumption, special moments, special occasion. So we have developed variety packs dedicated to digital commerce, especially dedicated to chocolates with chocolate bites. We have the Milka Favorites e-pack. We have the Nika tablets where you can find
We tried them yesterday. Yes.
the different range of flavor for our tablets. One dedicated to the Lou brand with the small bite biscuits under the Lou brand for France. So a list of items dedicated to that, where we also combine the use of the QR code so that we can have the geolocalization of the information. So one SKU, multi-country source, and available with all the set of information for our online digital shopper.
These are amazing data sources for consumer, and I'm sure there is also opening other conversations with the retailers because there might be beneficial use cases for the retailers, this type of data. But I want to reverse the question towards our retailer partners. Once more time, I'm the advocate of the brands, of course. In terms of value providing all these rich data sources and enhancing the consumer experience in an individual way requires a lot of investment, both on the company side and also bringing them to life on the retailer side, which could be supported in many different forms. It could be trade promotion, it could be digital media, it could be collaboration. In return, as of today in European market, are CPG brands getting enough transparency and getting enough effective measurement on these investments? Not only solely to media, but overall.
The key word is enough. So compared to the how deep and wide the information could be, I think we are very scratching the surface. So we are talking about the very general metrics of retail sales price developments, total net revenue generation, market shares. But the more you get into the data connection to consumer, the more you understand that the level of matrix should go much wider.
Yes.
Ratings and review, for example, are still less used and shared than what it should be. Of course, when you have customers like Amazon, you're already in that camp, but you're talking about a very short list of customers, Amazon, Ocado, or Bol.com. But if you think of how precious and valuable just having one matrix on ratings and review, conversion, or they did the click-through rates, all these new compared to traditional sales, new metrics that are telling you much more about the indirect understanding of consumers' behavior and shopper behavior is where I think we're not dedicating, or the cost of getting into this information is too high, because I don't think there is a good understanding of the mutual value, the mutual interest that we might have in sharing this information.
That's a perfect segue to compare before after retailer strategy or JBP discussions. Can you give us an example how those JPP plannings and meetings were 5-6 years ago and how they are today with all this data, all this enablements and presence?
So 5 years ago, we were just at the beginning of COVID, where the understanding of digital commerce were revealing, because it was an awful period, but actually it was a great acceleration for the digital commerce. People could not go to the store, and so they had to open their accounts for the online. And by the way, getting familiar with that. And what is still amazing to me is that the level of penetration that we reached during the pandemic, it's still stable. So people might say, yeah, with a different frequency, but it's still there. However, this understanding of the potentiality, the new consumer coming on board. If you look at average age of shoppers that are approaching the online business. You understand that the next generation are already there, and the familiarity they have with digital tools, ordering online through their mobile phones or their tablets, requires an extra focus and extra attention. And this is what is getting into the agenda of the JBPs. So 5 years ago, it was more black or white. Are you there? Are you not there? Are you a believer, or do you have the basic metrics? Now, especially with the most advanced retailers, the quality of the agenda is evolving. We are getting more into the actionability of the different lever, a different understanding of the different metrics that we can have. So a customer are asking for differentiated quality of content with deeper understanding or deeper, more bullet points to give more explanation. So you can see that the capabilities building and digital skills building is happening not only for manufacturer but for retailer as well. But as we said, we are at the beginning. There is yeah, we're still on the journey. Some of the areas are more advanced. Of course, if I think of UK, we are at a very good stage and good understanding and good collaboration. Other areas are still developing understanding and giving a size to the price, size of price to the opportunity that they have been having.
UK is an interesting market, and the online penetration of even food and beverage category is ahead of the US online penetration. So I think it's a really good learning.
Penetration frequency leverage basket are actually very high.
Great. And the market is still growing at a reliable or stable pace. Hopefully, the rest of the market will learn and transfer some of those learnings in UK market. Now, I want to bring the obvious two-letter word to the conversation. Yes, yes, what? Yes. So, because we talk a lot about AI, I mean, you talk about it on your monthly plannings and initiatives and projects. We talk about it every day, tangible tools and solutions. But I want to draw a resemblance to a different conversation. How AI initiatives or how AI projects your teams are working on, or the overall Mondelez teams are working on, impacting business strategy? Are they just experimental or learning projects, or did you start seeing real hardcore impact on the business goal, business strategy impacted by AI initiatives?
Both of them, because of the different application that you might have. First of all, the general answer that I can give you is AI applications are already a reality. But think of not to mention robotics, but large language model application, text optimization is already there. If I think of generative AI, you have we are discussing a lot about that. Is as you say, a hot topic that is taking a good share of our mind. In the marketing area, generative AI is already a reality for Mondelez. When it comes to the adaptation and application to digital shelf, for example, is one of the three pillars of application of AI. But what we see in the industry with our partner retailers and manufacturers is that you have two options. One is to adapt something that is ready from the shelf and adapt your strategy or use the existing one. Or, and this is the way that Mondelez choose, is to develop your proprietary brand technologies. And this requires a very high level of responsibility because you choose how to feed these AIs as generative AI in order to ensure that you have the right response to your company value. And this is what is making me very proud of the way what Mondelez choose to develop. But I'm also conscious that this requires time. This is where I'm referring. Execution of generative AI for marketing is already a reality. The application to the retailers is something that we are testing. But the development of technology, as you know, is very fast. So it's already a reality for the US. Will be applied in H1 25. And the next step at the early beginning of 25 will be the application for Europe, exactly with the main market that we have in the UK with Cadbury chocolate.
And US will be Chips Ahoy.
And Chips Ahoy, exactly.
Yes. So I know you're a fan of Lord of the Rings. And I know you're currently watching the Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. Now, as we're approaching to the end of our very lovely conversation, I want you to bring out your Palantir and give us a little bit of glimpse of what you see on the horizon for omnichannel retail, omnichannel commerce. How do you see the trends are evolving? And personally, or the Mondelez, what do you want to see more on the horizon?
Um, what I see in the future, and I really believe in that, is what we just mentioned, that is the opportunity to improve and enlarge the participation, the collaboration in the joint business plan, what we call joint value creation. That is a reality that is really it's a low hanging fruit that can be grasped, and I really believe that the application of the technologies will give another impulse and another acceleration. And what makes me really excited about that is the end game is that improving the offer to the end consumers, to the end shoppers. So this is where the collaboration can really give the best. And most of all, I am a believer in AI application. I think that will evolve the quality of the business that we are doing, evolve the quality of the job that we do, and evolve in better sense the offer that we can give to the consumer. So
Okay, this was a very safe palantir, so it's not gonna rock the boat. It's very good view. Thank you very much. Lucia, it was a pleasure. As we wrap this out, I want to leave the floor to you for a couple of minutes. And if you want to share your recommendations or tips for the future newcomers to the digital commerce world, what are your last words for the newcomers to the field?
it will not surprise you. I know that you come from the same experience and you have the same understanding. My strong recommendation is to keep mind open. And I think one of the characteristics of people working in digital media is the continuous learning. And to me, this is the exciting part. That is, you learn every day, you never get bored, but you really have to do an exercise of keeping your mind agile, open, and open to the new challenges, and kill your biases, and be open really to the new. Uh, how do we say the to challenge the status quo
Right.
and push yourself into the learning zone continuously.
I love the phrase now, kill your biases. I'm going to adopt this one too. Thank you very much, Lucia Ronchi, currently the digital commerce leader in the European market for Mondelez, and she's driving a lot of exciting initiatives. I was witnessing some of them in previous years. I'm happy to hear the new ones coming. It was a pleasure to have you on the e-commerce podcast. Thank you very much for having us.
Great, thank you.